Thank you all for taking the time today. I know there's been a lot of really good sessions going on this week from our team, and it's our pleasure to wrap it up for you with the topic of artificial intelligence and how it generally impacts the cybersecurity landscape that our team operates in every single day. And we're going to give you hopefully, a lot of good information to take away. We're going to try to introduce some ways of approaching assessing this type of technology when using it for your business, and so on. And with that, my name is Brandon Agustinelli, joined by James Farr as well. We're both members of Fox Point Solutions, and we serve specifically in our overall risk management service line, and we deal with all types of industries from healthcare to education to financial services. You name it. If there's a cybersecurity regulation associated with a particular type of organization or industry, we're involved in some way. And At the beginning of this presentation, we're going to kind of walk through some of the things that we'll talk about. James is going to take the reins for the beginning and some of the meat of it, and he'll hand it back to me at some point down the line when we get closer to the end. But as Duran said, questions are always welcome. They're encouraged. Wherever you're wondering about a certain topic or area that we're speaking about, or maybe something that we haven't talked about that's related to AI or the effect it has on all of our cybersecurity and information security, let us know. You also have our contact information to reach out after the fact too, if you want to connect with us. As with anyone else on our team, we're always looking to meet people and learn about all your real challenges. So with that, James, I'll turn it right back to you, and we'll get this thing going.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, so Brandon kind of already covered. We're going to talk about data security, artificial intelligence with cybersecurity, some emerging threats, regulatory updates, data protection policies. Do you want to be in the headlines? We never do. Office to date, OCR settled civil monetary penalties for over 142 million. There was a breach for TransUnion, 4.4 million people just last month. So there's no dollar amount for that yet. They're still working on it, but the breaches are happening. As of February, there's 5.56 billion internet users, 5.19 unique mobile users in the world. We're getting things on our phones, whether it be through a TikTok or a text or another video. We're getting bombarded with real and generated content all the time. At least all 50 states now have some sort of data breach statute. They vary by state, but at least every state has one. Some more background. Again, ransomware has increased another 70%. Was present in almost 70% of the breaches. Each year, the dollar amount goes up that is lost. And then after the attack, whether you've recovered your information or not, you always have to wonder, what did they get? Do they still have it? Will they release it again in the future? There's cybersecurity liability insurance out there. There's people that will guide you through the process. And then you have the hard decisions after the attack. Do you pay or not pay to negotiate the ransom? And there's some states that tell you can't pay. If I recall, that was Florida. That is unofficial. That's in the back of my mind. It just came up. But another scam that's coming out is the smishing. So now that you've got your phone in your hand, they can send you links, and here's a toll scam. I don't know if anybody's received these, but earlier in the week, somebody else was talking about them. It's pretty big now. They're saying you went through the system. We're going to charge you unless you take care of it. Looks pretty legit. You can make a legit looking website pretty quickly with your own skills, or let AI generate it for you. So when you're getting a phone call, you can't trust the person on the phone. If you're looking at a website, you can't trust the website because it could be a scam. QR codes are big now. With a QR code, people can post them wherever they'd like. If you say there's a QR code for parking, click here to pay for parking, make sure that's not a sticker over something else, or just an item taped to the wall or taped to the device, because it'd be very easy to put one of those up. People would log in, they would make the payment to your service. You'd still get your parking ticket, and they would take their money.
Yeah,
Honestly,
earlier I like sharing a little personal story here, but maybe a couple of months ago in the summer in my local area, just going to a parking lot that has a sign with a QR code on it, pretty typical. A lot of apps these days use to pay parking meters and tolls for short-term parking, and I almost got fooled by one as well. You scan the QR code, you click on the website link, and if you're not paying attention, you'll probably share some information that you shouldn't. And I looked down at my phone and I didn't recognize the name because an application was supposed to pop up and instead a web browser did. And I looked back up and you could see that it was kind of peeling off. There was a sticker on the sign. So that kind of thing is everywhere now. Like in these examples, they're also sent over email, and our email filtering technologies aren't perfect, especially if somebody pastes an image of something in to the body of an email. So it's always good, as James said, to double check the source. If you're getting an email you don't normally get from a certain person and it's got information like this in it, use another factor to call them or communicate in a different way to confirm, hey, did you send this to me? Is this real? That's always going to be the best way because this technology is not perfect and it shows no signs of ever being perfect because it changes so much. So you always got to have some sort of check in the back of your mind if something seems a little suspicious.
all right. Why data security? Just in the past couple of years, we've heard a ton about ChatGPT, Copilot, other artificial models. Um, they are getting better all the time, and there's movies out there. There's sounds out there that are deep fakes. We're in the election season. If you're seeing a video that doesn't seem like it's quite right, it might not be. Right now, if it's a national TV ad, it's probably been vetted. But if you're just scrolling and you see something that doesn't make sense, it might not actually be a real ad. So when we're talking about artificial intelligence, AI, you've got to have a departmental policy. People are going to try to use this technology. It can make their life easier. There's a lot of good reasons to do it. So find a tool that you are willing to let them use. And if you're not, find a way to verify that they're not using it or to completely block it. Because there's a lot of tools out there, and some of them are really helpful. Today, I'm actually going to use an AI tool, and hopefully you're all going to help me with it, because I'm going to ask for some prompts from you. Artificial intelligence. So here's a couple scams that have happened. We talked about the tollway scam. There's deep fake impersonations. There was that's probably over a year now, but there was a case where somebody set up a meeting, invited all the appropriate people to the meeting, told them you need to send tens of millions of dollars to settle this deal, and you have to do it quickly. So they bypassed a lot of internal controls because the person on the other line looked like it was the person that could authorize the shoot. So in your policies, have a plan on when it's allowed, when it's not allowed, but tell people just because it's it's a rush doesn't mean you can skip all the steps that are put in place um, to combat all that. Just got a short video. Everything you see in this video is AI generated, not by me.
As AI video technology gets better, scammers will use it to trick people. Here are some things to watch out for.
Ma'am, I see multiple threats on your computer. I need access immediately to secure your files. Nope, I'm fake.
We've detected suspicious activity on your account. Can you tell me your login information? Just kidding, I'm fake.
These Miracle hearing aids are only $14.99 today. Click the link below and order now. Nope, I'm fake, just like.
So a lot of those should have been a little cringy and say, oh man, I would never give out my username and password, no matter who's asking for it, because my IT's drilled that into my head. So why would we use IT? You're going to enhance diagnostics, personal care. There's AI chatbots. If you look on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a couple examples. Certainly, you can use it for scheduling. You can use it for reminders. You can use it to help generate emails as well as automate the process. We could generate training content. The video we just watched, we could have an artificially generated person to tell you about this program, this presentation right now. If you're trying to make a new document or try to find out what your current documents are missing, these tools are powerful. However, there's the free versions which will use you as a training. There's other versions which you can pay for to, in theory, have a cordoned off scenario where you can input information that's not going to be used to train the rest of the world. Brandon and I do a lot of healthcare, and someone asked us to put this together. So on the right-hand side, there are chatbots that you can use to try to diagnose people, get the early stuff out of the way. Their eventual goal is to interact with them virtually and get the medications prescribed, get the client treated for some basic things. Hopefully there'll always be a person at the end, but you never know. We've got some.
We have a that's a good point you bring up. We have a client in it's one of the southern states, very far away from New York and us. Different state laws, but we have a client that's utilizing an AI tool to interact with patients and provide preliminary diagnoses based on things that are inputted into it without talking to an actual physician. So this type of change is occurring now, and there are a lot of risks associated with that type of application, but everyone should look to see how they can embrace this technology. It's just a matter of what works for your business and what risks are involved in any application of it, even if it's something as simple as using it to create templates for a form that you're looking to generate in a particular system. Everything has some level of risk to it, along with all of the benefits that it so obviously gives all of us. Everything from scheduling meetings so you don't have to look through your calendar to find every little bit of open time to doing what I just described, which is actually providing a service to somebody. So all of that is within the scope of this type of thing that James is explaining here.
So whether it be let me go to the next slide. Whether it be coding, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet here, or with some sort of education or some sort of healthcare, there needs to be guide rails to focus it. AI can hallucinate, and it does a pretty good job at it. So what I wanted to do next is get a little interaction with everybody. I want to build a business plan for a lemonade stand. So let's pretend we're, teenager or whatever age you want to start your lemonade stand. I'm going to stop sharing this and start sharing a Copilot session that I have open. And in chat, people, if you could start throwing out prompts, you could say, I want to charge less than $1 and make more than $100 a day in a small area, a large area. So let me start sharing this, and I'm going to start generating these prompts, and let's see if we can get this to have any sort of accuracy.
And Copilot is a platform that we actually use at FoxPoint internally for. Obviously, we're not building lemonade stands over here at FoxPoint, but we're utilizing Copilot to help us answer questions, plan out certain meetings, do things that a tool like this should be able to do. And this will be a good way to kind of show things.
No, up in the upper left corner, there's the little goggles there. I've told it to do a private session. I don't really want to train Copilot on my personal area on what we're going to do today. So I've got like a one-of session. So we've got a geographic area. Oh, and there's controversy out there. Some people tell you to be nice to the AI pilots, but others say don't say please and thank you because it takes up a lot of resources. and it costs people a lot of money to do that processing. So generate a plan to open. What was it, Central New York?
Yeah.
And I'm going to just understand in a small town. This is a typing contest, a typing test in front of 100 people, so that's great. Please let us. Oh, I use please know, or yeah, what a good color scheme would be for this stand. What is the best way to advertise? And oh yeah, make sure we are using organic ingredients. Can you provide a recipe? Wow, that is not even close to ingredients. Anyway, let's see. Okay. What hours should the stand be open for best traffic? And compare weekdays with weekends. I'm probably going to stop there. I really wanted to type that K. All right, I can't type and stuff. Okay. I do know how to spell weekends, but sometimes when it's okay. So we got some graphics. All right, let's see what it comes up with. This is our little lemonade stand. It's thinking, and while that's doing that, you know, is this going to give us a business plan? Is it going to tell us the types of equipment we'll need? We'll need something to stir. We'll need containers. So our business plan, the goal is to create a small organic lemonade stand. We got some color schemes, red, yellow, and green. They're natural and eco-friendly. We could accent in light pink. I do like pink lemonade for a fun vibe. So down here, it says estimated startup costs or a visual graphic. Graphics typically take a little while, so I'm going to take the prompt and say, yeah, add estimated startup cost and pricing. Well, that's doing that. Is there any surprises here? Well, it didn't generate an advertising plan because we gave it a lot of information. What we'd have to do later is redirect it. And I've got a couple other scenarios, so I'm not going to redirect it for this, but we might be able to do that later with one of the other ones. Here's our recipe. 1 cup of juice with 1 cup of water. That sounds really strong. I could be wrong. If anybody has lemonade experience, I don't know that that's accurate, which is good. I would like there to be some errors here. Estimated cost for startup and nothing. Thanks for that. So this is actually good. We've used it, we've gave it some prompts, and it returns some helpful information. Is it completely what we're looking for? No, but it got us on the right path. We could keep asking it questions to refine it. So we could ask questions to prompt it in a different way to give us the startup cost, even though we use the prompt that it provided. We could have it spell out that advertising plan. But this person got a little older, and now we need a resume for a solo sales position based on the results of oh, I realized I can't share both these at the same time. So the next one is ask AI to write a resume for a soda sales position based on the results of the lemonade stand. So it's learned a little bit about us. We want to try to improve that. So for our resume, we can tell it things like we increased sales year over year by 100%. We increased foot traffic by 50% on weekends. We realized that the initial color scheme didn't work, so we improved upon it. Try to put some things in chat that you might want to prompt for this resume. And now I'm going to go back to the screen and let's see. All right, so we don't have any resume prompts yet, but I will just start typing, generate a resume based for a bottle All right. We had 2 years of experience. And all right, so we got years of experience. Anything else anybody wants to add? There's gonna be another step to this, but we'll see where he takes it. Oh, I am looking for a salary between 30. Come on. Sorry, everybody. And there's an extra space there. Okay. Please include, come on. So I'm going to let it give me the list of skills. And do you think this should be a Oh, yeah, actually, that's my following prompt. All right, so we're going to generate this. So we'll get a resume, hopefully, and we'll get some advice, hopefully. And if not, here we go. Resume, bottle delivery person, my name, location, Central New York. It doesn't look bad. Reliable and detail-oriented individual, 2 years of entrepreneurial experience, running a successful organic lemonade stand. So it remembered from before. Skilled at inventory management, you can read that. Manage daily operations. That's excellent. That sounds great. This resume is not bad. It doesn't really give any skills on how they would help be a bottle delivery person. So I will say, how edit this to show strengths related and then based on the time, I'm not going to do it, but I was also going to tell it to generate a casual version of the resume. Here we go. It made up information. AI doesn't like to not answer. We tell our employees, if you don't know, say so. AI has not learned that tool. So it is assumed I've delivered bottled lemonade to local customers. This is a start. You can use that to move forward. And then our last prompt is going to be now we need to generate a business plan to introduce artificial intelligence into our bottle manufacturing plant. We've made lemonade, we've delivered bottles. Now we're going to do the plant. Now we're actually going to have it not just give us an outline, but please develop a business plan. I would like it to give it step by step on how we can introduce AI into this manufacturing process. So put some prompts down in the chat. I'll try to fill them in, and we'll see what kind of business plan it gives us. That is the same screen that I just shared. All right. All right, so we've got maybe try to talk option. Features. Speech to text. All right. What other features might we want? Yeah, well, we'll say this. Please suggest 5 additional features that this tool should have. All right, let's see what they got there, and then we'll use this to reprompt it to develop that business plan. So we want predictive. Oh, I like predictive maintenance, quality control with computer vision, cracks. Oh, these include any others? Yep. Okay. Include my requirements. Oh, all right. So we're asking it to actually give us a business plan now. We'll see if it thinks of anything we didn't think about. Did it give us a timeline? Okay. Phase 1, planning and assessment for a 6-month. Okay, it's a 6-month timeline to introduce it. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I'll leave this up there. Is there anything that stands out as shocking that it provided something accurate or that looks a little strange to you? We'll give it just a minute, and then I've got one more thing that I'd like it to do. Oh, so one of the things we're going to get into shortly is some regulatory compliance. So we had to toss it in there. Oh, selected vendor. Um, So policy considerations, ethical, governmental framework. Okay, it gave OSHA as a specific for safety. It didn't get any specifics for state federal regulations. They're coming. There's some of them out there, but the rest of them are coming. I think I read there was 300 bills that are currently in some states of proposal. A lot of them have been tabled, but there we go. Our vendors are C3 AI Platform, AI Verde, and Siemens. I have not heard of the first two. I've heard of Siemens doing a lot of things. I assume they probably have one. So now, after the end of the day, you can all start your AI platform. This is great. We got to use this. We got a little interaction. I appreciate that. The last thing I want to share, and I can answer any questions if you have any, is our putting AI into practice scenario. So this is something I created. Luckily created something ahead of time. I didn't have to rely on AI. We got to define the objectives, get stakeholders involved. I looked at it fast, but I don't remember AI talking about that. What are our current capabilities? Risk management. I don't believe it talked anything about risk management. I'll leave this up on the screen, but how are we going to scale it? How are we going to test it? How are you going to know that the information you put in is accurately output. You receive accurate output. Some of what we did earlier, it didn't give us what we were asking for. We had a recipe for 1 cup of lemon juice for 1 cup of water. I still think that might be a little strong. But this is the hopefully some outlines that get you started. Brandon's going to go into some of the more statutory information here in a minute, but I will monitor the chat. Well, Brandon, actually, I will not be monitoring the chat because the screen will overtake it. But I'll look at it as soon as I can. Thank you for your prompts. Thank you for your interaction, and hopefully, we learned something.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
that was
Brandon,
great,
if
James.
or give my voice a rest.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good. As you can see, that type of technology can be applied. It feels like in an endless amount of ways, mainly because I think it might be an endless amount of ways you can use that type of technology, and not only in your personal life but business wise as well. Um, when you do that, however, there are risks, and we're going to talk about some of the big ones here. Some things to keep in mind. As part of our jobs, James and I uh, search for headlines and current breaches and things that are happening in the real world today and tomorrow to keep ourselves up to date on what really is changing and how people are becoming exposed by using this technology. And it is happening. As we all race to use it, there are things that we should keep in mind, really talking about like the difference between a free and a paid solution, something that is vetted versus something that is not vetted. All of us could go online and download a web-based application that gives us the same type of feel and technology that Copilot does, which is a Microsoft product that James was just showing us.
And I want to just interrupt.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
shouldn't be anything new. If you're using Microsoft or Google, they have free versions, which have their capabilities. But if you're in a regulated industry, those free versions, you already know that they're not applicable. You have to go to the enterprise version or some equivalent name. Dropbox, Box.com. They all have these versions that are safe for storing information. The AIs will have them as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of in a kind of parallel situation, we have a lot of clients in the healthcare space that rely on platforms like the one we're using now to conduct telehealth sessions or consult with folks that they provide services for, even if it's not like a direct patient type meeting. But we get the question a lot, is what we're using compliant? And the answer is, well, it depends. Are you using the free version of Zoom, for example, or are you using an appropriate license that is advertised by Zoom to be compliant with HIPAA expectations as far as encrypted channels, certain authentication controls that are in place? Not everyone can just join a meeting, for example. It doesn't save all the information by default to a common server. Like, there are a lot of things to think about. And if we don't go through the steps of assessing the risk of any software solution that we're considering, let alone whether or not it's free or paid, we might not have a good idea if it's compliant. So these are steps that we must take regardless if we're talking about artificial intelligence or not. Any software service provider. Um, and if we can go to James, can you go back to that table that you were at before you handed it back to me? Yeah. Um, there's a couple of aspects of this table that weren't really provided as food for thought by Copilot. In that session, James mentioned them, like risk management and data management. I'll focus on for a sec. We didn't really prompt it as to say like, hey, how do I build a secure environment with all my customers' information that they're going to be giving me? What do I do if I want to accept credit cards? Like things like that would elicit a lot more risk if we're starting to use software, especially artificial intelligence. And whatever we're applying artificial intelligence applications to in our business, we must see risk management. We must see data management and governance. We need to know what information is it going to be interacting with? Is that information legally protected by some state, federal, or local law? If so, we need to make sure we account for all of it. We got a question. Um, some staff on my team use ChatGPT regularly. Yep. Not safe in terms of maintaining confidentiality. Copilot a safe way to include confidential information, or is there a tool like, yeah. So is a great question. I think maybe everybody on this call works with these types of applications in some manner, whether it's the free chat GPT we can all access right now or like a company Copilot. I think this is answered in a couple of ways, but firstly, it's best governed by an overarching AI use policy that all of you should have in place or documented in some manner that all of your employees and users are educated on as far as what's the okay use, what are we allowed to use, first of all, what platforms are appropriate, meaning you can then go and measure policy non-compliance if you find that information is being shared via company devices to solutions that aren't approved. Through enforcing any sort of guidelines or restrictions, you have to have it in writing first. That's just in James and I's experience as auditors. If there's not a good policy written down or a good governance structure in place behind anything that's written down, it does kind of feel like the wild, wild west. So in this case, you might not know what everyone's using Chat GPT for, but if you build a culture of good awareness, people are regularly trained on what they should and shouldn't do with information. You can be more confident that if somebody's using something like Chat GPT, for example, they're not going to be sharing anything confidential with it. It's going to be non-organizational sensitive information in every way. And first of all, any output from these types of applications can't this is something that we'll get to a little later, can't just be used for what it is. It all must be reviewed by a human being if we want to make sure we maintain consistency. Output from these types of applications can't be always depended on. We all know that just from regular internet usage. This type of technology is no different. But Copilot, for example, James said, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say we had a client ask us, how do we detect if someone's using ChatGPT or some sort of tool? And when I taught a college class, it didn't matter if they cheated online or cheated with their friends. When you see a big difference in the way they perform or the way they write, something has changed. So you can use that as a key to say, you've been writing reports for 10 years and now they're significantly different. How did that happen? Then maybe you start investing in their search history. There's also ways to do like an AI audit, have someone come in and say, okay, these are all the tools that you use. Out of the tools that you use, these ones are actually have AI built into them. You have an agreement in place or you don't. Based on your internet traffic, these are the places people are going. So you can kind of get a feel on what people are using. But yeah, with what Brandon was saying, we have a licensed version of Copilot, and we still have a policy that tells us I went through training 2 days ago that tells us what sensitive information not to include. So yeah, there's guide rails for us, and we're embracing it.
Yeah, and that was exactly where I was going. So like Copilot can be a safe way to implement this type of technology into your business practice, but it must have guardrails. So it's an internal license in our environment, for example, that we utilize so it can access our files, our emails. Say we can ask it, hey, can you look back at an email I got from James about this client last week? Can you remind me what the takeaways were? It'll find that out in a half a second. But there are things that we are instructed we cannot and should not share. And also the technology, when implemented through Microsoft's help, can't access everything as well. It has specific barriers. So I wouldn't necessarily be able to go through somebody else's files, and I shouldn't, and nobody should. Versus so that's kind of the business type application of Copilot that James is outlining and what I'm trying to get at too. That is what we've seen to answer your question, Kelly, this is one of the more safer ways to use it as of today with a trusted organization like Microsoft that is kind of ahead of the curve as far as governing what it can and can't do. So,
And I will admit, I do not know what paid plans are offered with ChatGPT or any of those, but we
Yeah.
do know this. You could certainly give us a follow-up email. I can do some digging for you.
Yep. We're all learning here. So if anyone wants to connect to kind of talk through what they're thinking about certain things that apply to them, always appreciated. So,
some other steps in the process. Go ahead.
yeah, so we're on slide 21 now. Yeah, okay. So some things that we should all consider, we've kind of talked about a little bit. Any data that's outputted from this type of prompt AI technology, or anything that's a little bit more advanced than just kind of like a chat bot or an agent that's helping us. Data that we want to leverage or utilize that comes out of it, we need to validate on our own, or somebody needs to have that as part of their responsibility when before output from these types of technologies is used as either delivering a service or just depended on to make decisions. Um, it's interesting that there are some applications or business applications that we're learning about where AI is pretty much being leveraged as the source, and it's all about the information that you feed it. And the ones that are on the internet are getting information from literally everywhere and everyone that's ever put something in it. So you can't use that as a fact of the matter, no matter what you're doing. But for example, in our case, where we have a business license that it ties it directly to like my email account, for example. I'm pretty confident that it's going to find the email that I asked it to find that James sent me last week. Am I still going to make sure I read it and that it makes sense before I give James a call and say, hey, I got what you asked for? Yeah, I'm going to double check that what I'm doing is based on a fact, not just what Copilot spat back at me. Although it's probably accurate. It's probably pretty accurate. It needs to be reviewed because it is not always correct. Um, Staff training is the most important part of this. Uh, in information security risk management, regardless of the topic, if it's AI, if it's just filtering through our emails, if it's us sending information over email to somebody else, not using any sort of technology aside from email, training is going to be the most important way that we all, as organizations, continue to protect our data and prevent things from being exposed. So using password protection on attachments becomes critical. James, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The only thing I want to be careful with that is if you password protect, say, a Word document or a PDF, there are websites you can upload them to take off those passwords for you. Please encrypt the email if it's got something sensitive in it.
Yep. Everybody's
If you don't have it, at least password protect it or upload it into a shared drive where you can say who has access. But yeah, passwords for Word type, PDF type documents, they can be removed semi easily.
yeah. And by tools that all of us could access on the internet. I mean, it's back to the training piece. It's important that everybody that uses email at your organization is educated on how to properly encrypt an email, whether it's if it's dependent at all on some manual process like a button or a subject line key entry. Everybody needs to know what that is. James and I do risk assessments all the time with organizations that utilize that technology in some manner. And we like to ask department level personnel. We know there's controls in place, but we like to ask people how aware they are of what's there and how to use it. It's a good way of judging how well the training program is working.
Sometimes they're not aware.
And sometimes it's not, you're right. Sometimes it's not included in the security awareness training program to begin with. And it's just, people don't know what they don't know, So it's a very important aspect to all of this, whether we're talking about, again, AI or not. So let's see, we talked about that. Yeah, let's move forward a little bit. Want to make sure if there's any other questions, we get to it at the end. From a regulatory standpoint, as you could imagine, lawmakers are playing catch up with the evolution of artificial intelligence and all the businesses that are adopting it, selling it, using it. So one of the things that we do as part of our job is keep our hands on the pulse of what exactly is happening. And there are some states that have kind of come out in front and released some things that constitute mainly guidance, but there are a couple of laws that have been passed that require us to at least account for what we're doing. They're not all that prescriptive yet. When I say prescriptive as an auditor, I mean like it's telling an organization that needs to comply with whatever law, whether it's a state or federal law, this is what you must do, X, Y, Z. You must put multi-factor authentication on this. You must use passwords for this. The passwords must be a certain length. Like we haven't gotten to that point where what regulators are saying about artificial intelligence is prescriptive enough for organizations to have a clear plan. It's basically make sure you account for how you use it. You need to have some level of understanding of what people are doing with it. You need to have a policy that governs or at least tries to enforce from an administrative perspective what people need to do. You have to train people on it. It's kind of where it starts and it ends. But as James said, there's a whole lot of drafted up bills and laws right now that are kind of sitting there and likely maybe changed in some manners, signed in other manners. But this is such a new space and so fast in its growth that it's no surprise that the regulatory aspect hasn't really caught up. So with that, all we can do is kind of manage risk as best we can and make sure that we're um, uh, not falling aside as far as those checks and balances when we're considering using it, or at least allowing staff and employees that access data to use it based on business practices, based on what your purpose, your services are. You want to have some level of oversight and governance over it where you at least know and are confident what it's being used for, who's using it, and kind of expectations about
Yep.
what to share with it.
So yeah, some regulations that we're following, and then there's some that have been recently enacted. I think
Yeah.
Texas is the most recent one. But we've got New York State, we've got Texas, we've got New Jersey, all represented with some movement that people
Yeah.
have to consider depending on what field you're in.
Yep. And it applies to every type of organization differently. Like the New York State Senate bill at the top there, it's talking about automated decision-making tools. Where that applies to your business, where you're using it, that's something that should be looked at. If everyone's at a different stage in the process. Some people haven't used it yet and are looking at ways to embrace it and where to go from here. So these are all things to keep in mind. And again, if we're not lawyers, but we read all these things. So if you're ever looking to get some perspective on what you should be concerned about, what you should ask your legal representatives about, what laws and regulations apply to you today, if any are out there, you can always ask us. And the requirements to report breaches, have an incident response plan if something does go wrong. All that stuff is continually being updated as far as things like once you discover a potential breach, how much time do you have before you have to start notifying affected individuals of what took place, reporting to government entities. If you're a HIPAA covered entity, you're talking about Office for Civil Rights, Human Service, Health and Human Services. If you're financial services, you're talking about the New York State DFS, Department of Financial Services. In any case, New York, depending on what took place, State Attorney General's office gets notified. As James said earlier, every single state has a statute that has to be met if something takes place that would be considered a breach. So all that to say, there's a whole bunch to be concerned about, but this is not the sky is falling moment. This
No.
is let's all get educated and know what we should do going forward. How should we work towards making sure that our company organization is as compliant as possible? And that's not I check that box, I'm done. We have a program in place. It requires us to do things like perform information security risk assessments, which would include all the things that concern your company, your organization regarding your confidential data. This is one of the key controls that we'll talk about in a couple of minutes that we have left. See if there's any questions at the end, but it's really important to make sure that as an organization, you have a way of measuring any sort of information security risk on a regular basis. We could confidently say, regardless of your industry, there's really something that tells you you must do this if you have sensitive customer information or patient information, employee information. You're gonna have a requirement to do some sort of risk assessment if you deal with a certain amount of legally protected data. And not only is it legally required, it quite literally is one of the best ways to measure where you stand just from a risk management standpoint. You're assessing what information you have, how you protect it, how do your employees access it, where do they store it, how do they share it, everything that has to do with that type of data, where it's going, and you're going to look at that regularly, either through a process that you do internally with staff that have an adequate amount of knowledge to do so, or you can get people like James and I to do that kind of thing as well. And specifically, just a couple of things to as we near the end. Have an acceptable use policy, real quick. What is that? That is a policy that governs how all of your users, all of your employees are to interact with information assets. And when we say that, we mean just that. Anything, paper, electronic, platforms that you access in order to pull information from, stuff that you use to send information out. Who must you share information with? How must you do that? Requirements from working from home. However, we might be accessing our information and with what devices, you want a policy that educates your employees on what you should and should not do. This would be kind of the overarching policy that AI would be a piece of, or it would be completely separate, but just an important note there. Access control, and yeah, let's skip access control. So training, again, maybe the biggest takeaway on a topic like this, since it's a new topic, that being AI. Everybody needs to know the expectations in place. Everybody needs to know what's safe to use, what's not safe to use. You can't really blame an untrained workforce for making mistakes using a new technology. So it's very, very important that your IT or security professionals get in front of your staff, either through training programs that are already pushed out to, email blasts, posters, however we communicate, meetings. This needs to be a topic. It needs to be covered, not just because you must do it, but because, in our opinion, it is best practice. Vendor management, we kind of covered that broadly the whole time. You need to have a established process or policy in place for looking at third parties you're bringing on to provide services where they interact with your data as a result. An AI platform or application is a good example of that. But that type of policy knows no bounds. Really, it's any third party that has access to your information. You want to make sure there's a risk management component to it. And the whole presentation could be about third parties, quite honestly. We should do that sometime because this is one of the bigger areas outside of a specific niche like AI that's growing as far as breaches that just keep happening. We all trust third parties with our data. So it's a significant area of risk, to say the least. Incident response plan, it's all the more important with the new technologies that we keep adopting and utilizing. If you have it, make sure it's been reviewed recently. And by recently, we're going to say within the last year, and make sure it's looked at every single year and dated as such. It's got to be looked at by the people that are responsible with enacting it. If something does go wrong, and the right people have to be in the room to review it, walk through scenarios and test it. We're not saying everybody's got to shut their doors and run an incident response test every year, but you got to get the right people in the room to review the plan, go through a scenario, make sure that you've adjusted your plan as you see fit based on discussions your team has, aspects of the plan that you have questions about. That way, if something does happen and it has to be used, everybody's educated on what you need to do. So, and some of the things that we'll tell anyone any day to keep doing. You got to be skeptical. It's a team effort, so not one person can secure an organization. Everybody is the weakest link, to be honest with you. It takes one. So ensuring that there's training, ensuring that new technologies are always reviewed and collaborated on before they're adopted is really important. And then a few other things there, all the more important. And it's never a one-time thing. It's something that you always got to keep moving forward as far as risk management goes. So we've reached the end with a few minutes left. You have our information. You're going to get copies of not only our talk today, but the material, I believe. So any questions that remain, or if right now I think we've reached the bottom of the chat feed, but we have a few minutes. James and I will stay on if anyone has any questions, but please do reach out if anything in this space comes up that you'd like to just talk about, or communicate over email or however you'd like. But the questions in this space are multiplying, so send them our way.
I want to thank everybody for your business planning. My kids will be rich this summer with our lemonade stand, and I know we're accepting shares if somebody wants to. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, our numbers are dwindling. Now's a great time. You had a one-on-one question session, but I appreciate everybody for joining us.
And no questions, James. We hit every possible topic with AI. There's nothing else.
No, we had some questions earlier. We're good.
Yeah, we had a lot of good questions. It was very good.
Right. Yeah. We'll hang out for another minute, and then
Yeah.
some of you may be taking a drink break, getting a glass of water, and
James and Brandon, I just wanted to say thank you. This was a great session and it was very interactive, probably the most interactive across the series. So I really enjoyed seeing that. But thank you both for your time, your preparation, and I hope you got some use out of this session as well.
thank you.
Appreciate the help. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Anytime. I will end the meeting now as most people have left and I don't see any more comments in the chat, but I hope you both have a great Friday, great weekend, and I'm sure we'll see each other soon.
Great.
Thank you, Morgan.
Bye.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye.